we discussed until verse 22. Today we take up text 49 onwards. कालेन हि ओगवेगेन
कालेन योगभूतानां
प्रभावाप्यययो नित्यम् अपि न दृश्यते आत्मनो अग्नेर्यथार्चिषाम् The flame of a fire appear and disappear at every moment, and yet this creation and destruction is not noticed by the ordinary observer. Similarly, the mighty waves of time flow constantly like the powerful currents of a river and imperceptibly cause the birth, the growth, the death of innumerable material bodies. And yet the soul, who is thus constantly forced to change its position, cannot perceive the actions of time. The Brahman Avaduta, instructing Maharaj Yadu, again gives the example of the fire after having already proceeded to the example of the moon. This analytical method is called Simhavalokana, or the lion's glance, by which one simultaneously proceeds forward and casts backward glances to see if anything has been overlooked. As the sage proceeds with his analysis, but returns to the example of fire to illustrate the need of renunciation. The material body is certainly an ephemeral and phantasmagorical manifestation of the Lord's external potency. The flames of the fire constantly take birth and disappear. Yet we perceive the fire as a continuous reality. Similarly, the soul is a continuous reality, although his material bodies appear and disappear constantly by the influence of time. It is said that the most astonishing thing is that no one thinks that they will die because the soul is eternal. The living entity is prone to accept any fleeting situation as permanent, forgetting that his eternal nature can be truly experienced only in eternal atmosphere of the spiritual sky. One is convinced of this fact. He develops the quality of vairagya, or detachment from material illusion. Simhavalokana is the logic which Avadut Brahmana is using. So he is moving forward, at the same time he is still meditating on the previous things which he has told, just to see if anything has been overlooked. And here the analogy mentioned is that of the fire. The fire flames are not constant, but it appears to be constant. It comes and goes always. Similarly, the material world changes its manifestations all the time. So, with every wave of the time, the body is either taking birth or growing or dying. There is a constant change which is taking place. Srila Prabhupada is explaining a very important point here. As spirit soul, the nature of the spirit soul is eternal. Because the spirit soul is eternal. And therefore, therefore the spirit soul is a constant factor. There is no change on the platform of the spirit soul. The spirit soul is constant. So because our intrinsic characteristic is that of eternality and constancy, if we try to see the soul always needs things which are constant and eternal. That's why people want to have a stable, steady job. People want to have a stable, steady setting. The changing flux is not the nature of the soul. Therefore, in this changing flux, the spirit soul is most miserable. The spirit soul looks for, hankers for that which is constant. But when it comes to the material plane, nothing is constant. And therefore, we see that everything in this material world is a source of anxiety for the spirit soul. Okay, today it worked out, but tomorrow will it work out? There is no guarantee. And because there is no guarantee, the spirit soul is always in anxiety. Just like many times, businessman always in anxiety, whether his sales will happen or not. It happened last year. Will it happen this year also? Jai Shri Shri Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra Maharani, Sudarshan Maharaj, Sheikh Prabhupada ki jai. It worked out last time, but will it work out this setting also? It worked out in one geographical area, but will it work out in another area also? So, there is always the anxiety which is there. Similarly, people have such an overwhelming anxiety about their health. Will I remain healthy going forward? There is an overwhelming anxiety about that. So, because this material world is changing, it creates so much anxiety. It creates so much insecurity. And the more one is standing on the grounds of the changing reality, the more life is becoming anxious, the more life is becoming stressful. Just like previously, there would be only government jobs. So it's only government job person is peaceful. He knows he won't get more money, but he won't be thrown out also. So person can think of something else in life, something higher in life. But nowadays, there is no guarantee of job for anyone, even if one is working and experienced for 20 years. So many of our devotees after 15 years, 20 years, they lose their jobs and then they have to struggle to be able to get a job. So there is so much of anxiety. Now that leads to the person is in anxiety. Now will my basic needs be fulfilled? From where it will be fulfilled? And so on and so forth. And because of this anxiety, the person is not able to focus on the higher goals of life. Because of that, life is very stressful. So where lies the mistake? So so actually anxiety and stress we ourselves invite in our lives. How? By identifying with the changing flux of this world. By identifying with the changing flux of this world. The So the more we identify with the changing flux of this world, uh, the more we identify with the changing flux of this world, the more there is going to be anxiety and stress. So, because the nature of the soul is eternal and constant, the soul needs as food, as a diet, that which is eternal and constant. And therefore, the soul needs as the standing platform that which is eternal and constant. Then only the soul, the spirit soul, can be stable, can be happy. The more the soul identifies with that which is changing and that which is fleeting, it leads to so much anxiety and stress. That is where we understand that the spirit soul is meant for Krishna consciousness. The spirit soul is only fit for one thing, that is Krishna consciousness. If there is Krishna consciousness, then one can be very happy and peaceful in any situation externally. But if there is no Krishna consciousness, one will be miserable and crying in any situation in the world. So this is the law. The soul is a misfit when it comes to the changing, fleeting reality of this world. That is why Krishna consciousness has to be the prime duty. So unless we learn to refuse to accept the the polarity and phases which the material world is showing, we cannot save ourselves from being miserable. That is the point. That unless that the material world is constantly changing. It looks constant, but it is not constant. It is constantly changing. And therefore, better not rely on the material world and the material factors. That is the point. That is why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj would say that Krishna consciousness is an emergency, it's an urgency, and it cannot wait for any external material condition to precipitate or to settle. Krishna consciousness is an urgency. We cannot wait for any external situation. External situations will come and go. Whatever is the polarity and phase of the situation, people are going to be the same still. Their experience is going to be the same still because the experience is constant. Material world is changing its phases, but the experience of the material world is constant. That is misery. Because the soul is not a good fit when it comes to this material world. That is why things of the material world should not be taken seriously. Taking things of this material world are not worth depending upon. They are not worth depending upon. So, if you want to depend upon a good job, a good social position, that itself will make a caricature out of our lives, a mess up out of our lives. The baseline is we don't need anything. So for the happiness of the soul, money is not required, job is not required, social position is not required. Only Krishna is required. That's all. Only Krishna is required. So that's why Srila Prabhupada see, this is the reason why Arjuna is choosing Krishna, not the Narayani Sena at the outset of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Because Arjuna is very much convinced of this aspect that we cannot depend on any external factors. So, whereas the Kauravas were focused upon amassing bigger and bigger army, it was the Pandavas, their focus was to amass or to gather the blessings of the Lord, the presence of the Lord, the blessings of the great souls. That is the difference, you see. So the Kauravas, they were having infinite strength, and all that got crumbled up to dust and powder. That is what is going to happen. All our dependence algorithms on the mental energy are going to crumble to dust and powder. That is why Bhagavatam describes all these fallible false shelters as fallible soldiers. They are only there till the time we need them. As soon as we need them, they are gone. So job, money, bank balance, land balance, everything is like that. Social positions, everything is like that. They are all fallible soldiers. Whenever so person keeps amassing money, thinking that this will give me security. So the money is in the bank, and probably it remains in the bank itself. Because when the calamity comes, there is no time to withdraw the money and do something with that money. So people's money keep rotting in the bank itself. Like that. Similarly, land. person may buy hundreds and hundreds of acres of land, but when his time will come of death, he may not even have the opportunity to get a 6 feet by 2 feet space in his own land, because his body may be destroyed in such a setting where one may not even get a burial or a cremation. One may not even get a burial or a cremation. What is the use? What is the security which this material world can offer us? So this material world is a big hoax, and we simply keep wasting our lives, uh, simply getting infatuated by the various illusory flavors of this material world, thinking that let me set this right, and let me set that right, and let me set this right. In this way, a living entity makes a perfect plan to waste his or her life. The reality of the world is Krishna consciousness. We need to rely on the constant factors, the factors of eternality, the factors of constancy, that is Krishna, that so we have to understand. That's why Srila Prabhupada is explaining here that this understanding of what is constancy and what is an eternal factor and what is a perishable flux, changing flux, this is what can give us Vairagya. Vairagya is the way to lead life. The only way to lead a happy life is Vairagya. Sambhog is the way to poison whatever little bit happiness one had also. So the proclivity to do bhoga is the short way to spoil whatever crumbs of little bit happiness and peace one had. Whereas Vairagya is the way, because Vairagya creates a shield when one is not allowing all these material flavors to affect oneself, and that is the only way one can be happy in this material world. So we allow ourselves to be affected, we will be the most miserable. We uh, we uh, we uh, we reject the proposals of the material energy to depend and rely upon them. We will be saved. We will be saved. This material world is like a cheater. Everything is cheating. Ma is proposing, this is so good. This can give us such a nice stability, steadiness. All these are bogus algorithms actually. What can give us steadiness and stability is Vairagya. Therefore, Vairagya, so Vairagya is not only counted in terms of detachment from material illusion, but it is also counted in terms of attachment to the eternal reality of Krishna consciousness. So, and this is a great lesson which Shilavatut Brahman is teaching us. Let's stop here for today. Vedantashala ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.